Hi and welcome back. Thank you so much for coming over for another visit. I appreciate it very much. Today is a Care Collab video and today's participants are Plants and Other Things, Dee Dee Blooms, Simply Orchids, etc., Fernanda Nascimento's Orchids and Succulents, and Ninja Orchids. Fernanda is the coordinator of this particular care collab for the Dendrobium kingianum. However, Nina from Ninja's Orchids started the initiative back in 2020. So if you do any videos, whether it be on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit, I don't know if Reddit does videos, but in any platform, and you'd like to become part of the care collab, go ahead and reach out to Nina from Ninja's Orchids. Her information will be in the description below, and she will reach out to you and let you know kind of the process and see if you're still interested after that. So like I said, today is about the Dendrobium kingianum. So I got mine as a freebie back in February of 2019 from Orchid Insanity. Here is the original tag still. I don't know if you can see that or not. But up until 2019, I just had Phalaenopsis, as many of us do, as many of us start our road down the rabbit hole of orchid collections. And I had ordered some seedlings, some seedling cattleyas, not realizing what a seedling was. And this was given as a freebie. So when I initially got this one, she had 4 canes, and they were all these little tiny, I don't know if you can even see that, but see how tiny that cane is? There were 4 of them. So I put it in a moss mix, and it did nothing. So then I put it in a seedling bark mix, and it did nothing. Then I put it in a mixture of seedling bark mix and moss, and it did nothing. Now the entire time I was changing out the potting mixes, it was sitting over here in this corner, this little bright area that you see in front of the east facing window. So didn't change anything but the media, and literally did nothing for an entire year. February 19 to February 2020, nothing. No new roots, no new growth, just sat there. You talk about taking your time to acclimate to someone's environment. Boy, did this one take its time. But once it decided it was okay with where it was like, okay, I guess this is where I'm going to be. I guess I'm going to have to grow here. It grew, and when it grew 2, 3 new growths. And of the 3 new growths, this was the biggest. The rest of them were still nice and small. Then I up potted it because it literally took up the little 3-inch pot I had it in, or 2-inch pot, 2, 3-inch, the little short one. The roots were eating it up. It was drying out every 3 days. I was like, okay, let me up pot it. So I put it in this pot, but I made sure to put lots and lots of air holes in here, because where these grow in Australia, they don't get a lot of water. It's not in compact. They're generally lithophytes, which means they generally grow within the rock crevices and whatnot. They can be epiphytes, but they're not generally known as an epiphyte. They're more known as the lithophyte. So once I put it in here, when I went to repot it in, let's see, when did I repot this? In November of 2020, it split into 2 plants. Now, whether it was 2 plants when I first got it, I don't know, because it did come bare root, but the roots it had were all tangled together, and I didn't untangle them. I just set them in the media, and each time I changed out the media, I just cut off the roots I could see that were desiccated and put them back in, put it back in the pot. Then in August of 2021, I took it out of here, cleaned it up really, really well, and put it back in just bark. Up until then, there was some moss mixed in here, but now it is all small bark, and it has now started living under my Barina lights on the bottom grow shelf, and it grew 1, 2, where's the third one? 3. new growths since being under there. Now, the new growths had started before I put it under there. I had researched that if your leaves are kind of on the darker green, more on the like the really deep forest green, then it wasn't getting enough light, even though, like I said, it's sat here in front of this east-facing window, which looks really bright. But if you put a light meter over there, it's actually not as bright as under the Barinas. So once I put it under the Barinas, these leaves here started lightening up, as well as all of the older leaves. And these 3 new growths really took off. Like within 2 months, this is what I've gotten. So that to me is progress. Now these 2 larger here have 3 leaves on them. This smaller new growth right here, which is off one of the smaller pieces when it broke, only has the 2. Generally, they have 3 to 4 leaves per cane. Most of the time, from what I can read, and correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, most of the time it is 3 leaves. Occasionally you can get those 4 leaves. And the way that I take care of it, outside of leaving it under the bright Barina light, I water this about every 7 to 10 days right now in the wintertime here in my home in Colorado. I wait until I feel like it's completely dry. And because I've had it so long and I've had it in the same pot, I can pretty much pick the pot up and tell whether or not it's completely dry or not. Even though these roots on the outside, which are quite extensive, look really dry, and they probably are, she still has a little bit of a weight, so I know that the inside is still wet. And if I were to put a bamboo skewer in there, it would come out with a little dampness. So once I see that the outside roots are dry like this, what I do is I'll wait another day or so, and then I will give it some water. When I do water, I alternate between my MSU fertilizer and the CalMag and a flush. So when I do fertilize, she gets between 130 and 150 parts per million. I've decided this year I'm going to fertilize at a lower ppm, and instead of skipping fertilizer, I'm going to give them fertilizer more often, but at a lower quantity. Last year I was fertilizing at about 300 parts per million every watering and then doing a flush. This year I'm going to lower that just to see if there's an improvement in their growth and less root burn and leaf tip burn and all the burning. So the last 3 growths, like I said, have larger canes, so that is good. That is a sign that she is getting much healthier and stronger. They do store water in their canes, very much like other dendrobiums. So if you do forget to water this, it's not as big of a deal as if you forget to water, say, a Cattleya or an Oncidium, because they do have the storage in here. And I know Oncidiums have the pseudobulbs. Please don't come for me. But all of the new growths are also producing new roots, so that is amazing as well. The flowers on these are generally white. You can, not white, but pink. You can get white or lilac-y color. From what I've read, the scent on these are very much like a hyacinth, and I love the way hyacinths smell, so I'm looking forward to this blooming for me one day. Other than that, there's not much else I can really tell you about my kingianum. So go ahead and check out everyone else's videos. I will have those linked down in the description